someone to invest your love in. I think that's a very important quality. And I live downtown. I see a gazillion people with dogs. And I always ask myself, why do all these people have so many dogs? Well, because there's a feeling that we get when we love something, especially dogs, because it's unconditional, that we love. We need that in our lives. I don't think we're meant to be alone. I've never seen, I've had many clients who told me they're very happy alone. But at the end of the day, when we really get into it, they're not. There might be a lot of protective reasons why they want to stay alone, but I think at the end of the day, we need nurturing and we need to nurture. That's just, I think it's a human need. Like we need food and we need sex. We need to nurture another person. We get tremendous benefit from that. So I don't think we'll ever outgrow that. It might be pushed off a little bit. Maybe people will get married at an older age, or maybe they won't get married. I don't think you have to get married. But a committed relationship, it probably won't be for life. I don't see that happening anymore. I think people have different phases now. I think that's more normalized and it's okay. When you're in your 20s, you're different than when in your 50s. And when people retire in their 60s and 70s, so whether you can grow together or not, I don't think that's as important as being able to find the success that you're looking for with the help and investment with another person. I think that's still a very human need.
Are we meant to be with someone, or can like the dog thing you mentioned, that yeah, the number of people with dogs, I mean, compared to when I was a kid, now everybody has a dog. Can it be effective? Can you replace romantic love with love for your dog?
I
Or
don't think so. I see that as a symptom that people have dogs. It's just further evidence to me that we need something. Why would all these people have these dogs? Because they need it.
but have you noticed that too? Like there are way more
Yeah.
dogs now, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable. And people have more than one. And it's a huge responsibility.
Is it a replacement for romantic love from a partner, or is it kind of seen as like a trial run for having a baby or a replacement for a child?
I don't think it's either. I think it's just that human need to nurture another being. And it's the easiest is an animal. It's the easiest because it doesn't ask you for anything. A human being is a lot harder. So I think it just, to me, when I see all these people with animals and with dogs, it's evidence of that need to nurture something. And I think that we get a lot back when we do that. And that's why I think the best option is when we find a person that we can relate to. I think the problem for society now is it's become so scary. We have lived such isolated lives through the pandemic. I think that's affected people socially, intellectually, financially, like in all kinds of ways. So I don't know. I think there'll be a lot of lessons to learn over the next number of years about the impact that this had on us. Zoom, my whole life revolves around Zoom now. And what is that really? Like, it's not the same human connection as, looking at a computer screen and relating to people. And that's most of my young people that I work with, they're on dating sites. And I think that's very sad. There's no other option to meet people in real life than through dating sites where you're not really, everybody's lying, everybody's putting outdated pictures and when I was young, I used to go to hangout spots and, it was all about being in person. And we've lost that. And I think young people tell me they've lost that sense of adventurism, and they're afraid. They're afraid to venture out into the world. It's scary now. And if you want to be alone and that works for you, great. I have met many people that are really like that.
Is the point of companionship, by the way, whether it be dogs or lovers or whatever, is the point to love or to be loved?
I think it's both. I think they're equally important to be loved and to love. That's why I think that the dog is the great metaphor, right? Because you feel loved by the dog and you love the dog. It's a two-way street. People don't have birds. Some people do, but you don't get love from a bird. You don't get love from a fish. They're nice to have. I just think that indicates the different kinds of relationships that we like. Some people like to be more tight with their partners, and some people want to have independent lives and do separate things, and both are okay. But that's still different than being alone and being on your own. I think people generally, given the choice, and if they had the skills, would prefer to be in a relationship. That's just what I see. I see it over time in history. And I see it in our culture. I think we've tried all kinds of things, different ways of existing as a society. And it always seems to come back to a monogamous relationship at some point. And whether or not we have the skills or not, that's a whole other question. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of things teaching us good skills. Think about the movies that are on Netflix. And we don't get good examples of good, healthy relationships. They're few and far between,
Why is that? Is it boring?
probably.
Like nobody wants to shoot a movie about some guy going to work and he's in a happy relationship.
Right? Yeah, it doesn't sell. It doesn't sell. They say in journalism, you're from journalism, right? If it bleeds, it leads. We don't print the happy news because who's interested in that? That's just it's a statement about us as a society, I guess. It's not it certainly is not the ideal.
Because I mean, the narrative around being alone nowadays is like you're alone, you're independent, you're by yourself. No one is bossing over you. You're not stuck in some miserable relationship. You call the shots. Can they really be happy alone?
I don't think so. That's just my personal opinion. And, based on the people that I meet, I think people generally want a relationship. They don't always know how to make it work.
They secretly want it inside, so they're just like saying it out
Yeah.
loud that they're happy.
Well, I think there's a lot of self-protection. They might boast that they're happy, but when you get them in a therapy room and they really start to talk about what's really going on, no, I don't think. I think there's a lot of benefits and reward to being alone. There's a lot of good things about being alone, but I still think at the heart of it, people want companionship and want to invest in a loving relationship. I just think that people get burned, and maybe at a certain point in life they say it isn't worth it. So I'd rather just be alone. I understand that.
It's
It
like a
doesn't mean that it's.
consolation prize. It's
Hmm?
like a consolation.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So I hope that people can learn better skills to have better relationships and learn that relationships go through changes over time and it's nobody's fault. And then how to determine what are your challenges in picking a relationship? Why do you have the issues that you have when you're in a relationship? Figure that out so that maybe you can have a healthier relationship. That's a tall order. I tell people that it's not an easy thing to do, what we're talking about. But if people generally want to do that, I think there's opportunity and a hope to do that. If you're asking me if I think that people are really fulfilled being alone, I don't see that in society. I think we always are looking to couple, to partner. Um,
Do you meet with young people?
Sorry,
Do you meet with young
I
people
do.
in your practice? What are they like? What are your
A lot like
take?
you, a lot like you, venting a lot of frustration and struggles, with what's expected of them and what they feel they want to do. Um, People are bucking all those expectations and they want to figure out new ways of living their life. And I take my lead from them. I don't have any prescription about how people should live. But I worry about people who are isolated and don't have human connections. I think we need that. How that will happen, I don't know. I think it's become a scary world. I worry about that. But I try not to invest too much of myself in that. I don't watch the news so much anymore. I just find it very disruptive to me, to my soul. Um, and that's why I've come back to work in person. I still do a lot of work on Zoom with clients, but I still want to do in-person work because I think there's a value in being in person. Is a difference that you and I have right now in this relationship here and now because we're here within the office and we see each other and we can feel each other than if we were just on a computer screen and I'd see your head. That's it. And I'd be making all kinds of assumptions as you would be. So it's less real. It's less interconnected. But I don't know. I don't know how that will change. I don't see us going back to in-person office work anymore. I think those days are gone. So I think there's some benefits to that. I know a lot of the young people that I work with that work from home. It's fabulous. People who have kids. It's fabulous. I mean, their work-life balance is way different than it used to be. I think if the powers that be said everybody has to come back work in the office 9 to 5, they'd lose most of their staff because I don't see anybody going back to that. But I think in response to that, we need to figure out then how do we connect with each other? How do we have place and space and time to connect as humans? Because I think we need that. I think we need that like we need love. We need connection. So maybe it'll be more, in religious communities, in other kinds of communities where people have retreats and in-person festivals and things like that where people can connect. I think, that maybe we'll see more going back to those kinds of things, but I'm not sure. College campuses today are frightening places.
Does online therapy work, by the way?
Absolutely. It shocked us that it did as well as it did. We never did it online, to be honest. I mean, I certainly didn't. Most of us didn't. There were some organizations, EAP providers, that provided some kind of, online therapy over the years. And that was very different, very structured, very short term. What we have discovered is it could absolutely be very effective. It's not the same. But like anything, it has pros and cons. People don't have to worry about parking. They don't have to worry about childcare. They don't have to worry about time in traffic and, commuting. So there's a lot of benefits to working remotely, and it can be very successful. And that's been a big surprise for us. You know, back in the day, it wouldn't have ever been something that we would say professionally we should do. The professional licensing bodies didn't support it. The insurance company didn't support it. It's all changed. Now it's recognized that this is something that we need to do, and we need to do more of it. We need to make it more accessible to people because there are people who won't come here. They won't come to an office for all kinds of reasons,
Why?
logistical reasons, stigma issues. Well, I know you said that you think we're way more open to talking about it. That's true, but there's still a stigma of saying, I need help. We don't like to say we need help. And if we need help, we think there must be something wrong with us, as opposed to, I say to people, there's something right with you. There's something healthy that recognizes the need to get help, to do something better and different. That's a healthy impulse. But I generally don't think that people see it that way.
But do these things like they seem so trivial though? Like they really discourage people, like parking and things like that?
Absolutely.
Why? Just go park. I mean, like, what's the big deal?
I think it's just we've become a society that is very comfortable being at home and pressing a button on Amazon and getting it delivered to us the next day. And the thought of driving somewhere and parking and paying for parking and going up to an office, I think that's an impediment for people to come. People tell me that. People tell me that gets in the way. They'd rather see me on Zoom.
Do they have anxiety, by the way, like coming in
It could
person?
be. It could be.
But
Yeah.
isn't that like the reason why they're going to therapy? To
Well,
deal with the anxiety?
it's not necessarily the anxiety about traveling and being out in the world and going to an office. That's not necessarily
No,
that
no,
anxiety.
that's what I mean. Like the anxiety to come here in person and deal with a.
I didn't mean it that was because of anxiety. I just think it's an inconvenience. That's all. There may be people that have serious anxiety issues, but that's different. I wasn't referring to that. I was just referring to the logistics of it and the pain in the neck and people getting used to just being comfortable at home and like a DoorDash. I mean, I have people ordering ice cream from McDonald's being delivered to their house. I've seen that. I've seen a guy delivering ice cream from McDonald's to somebody's home. Like, really? But that's the society that we live in now. You just scroll and push a button and it gets delivered to you. So I think this model of doing therapy that way, it just fits with people's orientation to life now.